Okay, good afternoon. Andy Pedraza here with Special Effects Academy, and we are on our start of the week session for May 20th of 2018 in the Forex trading room. And with no further ado, we will get started. Okay, our contents as usual are going to be our currency strength meter, where we compare the last 2 weeks of trading activity in the Forex, our fundamental announcements for the week that is starting, a look at the daily charts on the major crosses, any setups in progress or any insight into the week to come, and a few parting words before we wrap this show up. Okay, on the screen, you should be seeing the two charts, the chart for week ending May 11th and week ending May 18th. So that's the last 2 trading weeks. We see that volatility is starting to rise again. 2 weeks ago, we were at 1.61% relative movement. We've gone up a little bit more than half a percentage point in the week that just ended. More importantly, we can see comparing the different currencies that the Aussie is still staging somewhat of a recovery against several other currencies. The Canadian has now retreated a bit from the strength it was showing the week prior. We now had it more in the middle of the pack. The Swiss, the CHF, staged a very fine recovery. After a dismal period, it has now started gaining strength on every other currency. It was one of the clear winners for the week. The euro continues to be a clear loser. We saw it depreciate against every other currency. The pound has also been middle of the pack, depreciating against the dollar, the Swiss, and the Aussie, and gaining against the remaining currencies. The yen, also a little bit of a surprise with the yen, because the euro, as I said, has been a clear loser. Normally that makes the yen get stronger, but in this case it did not. The yen is also losing ground to every currency out there except the euro. The Kiwi has started to recover. It was bottom of the pack 2 weeks ago. This week it did recover against half of the currencies. The dollar, of course, continuing to be strong against everybody except the Swiss this week that just ended. And that is the extent of the currencies we're going to look at. The final 2 bars are silver and gold, respectively, which I like to keep on the chart just as a bellwether of what we're seeing. So there you have it. We see the clear winners being the Swiss and the dollar, the clear loser being the euro. Everybody else is sort of middle of the pack there, going back and forth depending on which currency we compare it with. Our fundamental announcements for the week of May 20th are virtually non-existent. We have the CPI coming out of the United Kingdom on Wednesday early morning, my time, 4:30 in the morning. We have the minutes coming out of the Fed that same day at 2 in the afternoon. That may be a little bit more significant, though I'll probably stay up for the CPI. It's been quite lively the last couple of times that we've had a CPI announcement, and this one is year over year. So I may stay up for that UK announcement. And of course, I will be up and actively trading for the monetary minutes out of the Fed on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we have inflation report hearings out of the United Kingdom. We have the monetary policy meeting accounts out of the Eurozone that same day. And we have the consumer price index, excluding fresh food, coming out of Japan that evening. So all in all, a very light week for fundamental activity. Nothing like the non-farm payroll or interest rate announcements. Nothing major coming out. But we'll see if any of these gives a little bit of a kick to the market on the day they come out. So we'll be trading some of these live. I'll let you guys know as the day gets closer. In particular, I think I will stay up for the CPI on the United Kingdom on Wednesday morning. We'll see how that works out. And with that, we're going to jump in and look at some of the charts, starting with the euro dollar. And all the charts are going to be dailies. So the euro dollar, we can see that it has suffered a complete collapse after moving sideways for an extended period since the end of last year. We suddenly see the bottom drop out of the euro, and the dollar has just been gaining strength on it. It is at one of those major points of support resistance that we like a lot. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on the euro. If it goes deeper, it really is not going to find the bottom till somewhere around the 1.10 area. That's about 800 pips below where it is right now. So that is a good chunk of pips. But it's too soon to tell what it's going to do. It may find support there and continue moving sideways as it did for the better part of a year back here between July and late last year. So yeah, half a year it simply stayed relatively sideways before making that next move up. So keeping an eye on it, but no predictions or other than I will continue trading it down most likely, since that's the preferred direction right now. But we're going to be doing it a very safe fashion, not trying to jump in ahead of time, just trying to take as many pips as it's giving in any given week. When it does start a good move in either direction, we'll try to ride it, but I need that move to start before I jump into it. We've been trading it down very well since it broke this trend line week after week, and I do not want to ruin a good thing. Moving on to the pound dollar, we see much the same thing happening. So the dollar is definitely gaining strength on the European currencies. After reaching a high of 143, and I thought this was actually going to take off toward the 150s, the opposite happened. It has broken through all the trend lines and has now been trading reasonably flat for the last couple of weeks. So waiting for it to pick a new direction up or down and start trading it again. For now, just keeping an eye on it. USD/JPY, nothing noteworthy that we haven't said before. The dollar has been extremely strong for the last 2 months at least, and we can see that play out here as well. Japanese strength bottomed out here back, as I said, a couple of months back, and since then, the dollar has just been gaining on the JPY, and it shows no sign of stopping. So I'm still playing dollar strength very cautiously because at some point this will falter. But as it continues moving, there's no reason why we can't continue catching pips even up to the 114 level, where it's going to find its major point of resistance. USD Canadian, this is probably the most inconsistent dollar pair out of all of them out there. We can see that it has been moving in very wide leaps and bounds, but in general, sideways. And if you look at where it is right now, it's at the same spot where it was back in October and not too far away from where it was a year ago today. So it's moved thousands of pips at a time, but has remained to this day exactly where it started out a year ago. So we can certainly take advantage of these leaps and bounds, but right now on that point where we're waiting for it to pick a direction again before we trade it for any long-term moves. USD Swiss, of course, you guys have seen me trade the USD Swiss up for several weeks now. This last week, however, was reasonably flat, even a little bit of a retrace. So we had that Swiss weakness that has been going on since back in February when it started and has shown no signs of really stopping until right now. It peaked at around the 1 level, which is always a point of major resistance for the Swiss, and is now just hanging out right below that at the 99.75 to 1 level of exchange against the dollar. Another one that will probably start dropping and go somewhere around the 95 area, which is where it likes to hang out if you look at the historical chart there. But until that move starts, I'm not going to jump in. I seriously doubt it's going to go much higher. Historically, 103 has been the high, and it can certainly try a run for that. But in general, it likes to stay between parity and 0.95. So I'm thinking that this is its latest attempt to go to the top, and it'll now start hanging out again towards the middle of the range. So a good opportunity if we keep an eye on it and jump in at the right moments. Aussie dollar, nothing new here. The dollar strengthening, the Aussie collapsing. It is at its historic low on the chart on the daily, even a little bit beyond. It's made a new low on the daily, breaking out of the prior one around this level where it hung out for weeks at a time. Now it has made a new low, but returned back to that prior level of support resistance. So not sure if it has any strength to go deeper. I keep saying this every week. I'm expecting the Aussie to recover and hit towards the top of the chart, but that time apparently is not yet. So we'll look for a good opportunity before we jump in. Moving on to the Kiwi dollar, the New Zealand against the dollar. Essentially the same thing we are seeing on the Aussie dollar. It's definitely looking at dollar strength, but it has not breached the prior low that it made in November. So unlike the Aussie dollar, this one has not gone to the very bottom yet. It is still making its way there. It does like this region at the 0.73 to 0.72. This 100 pip band is its sweet spot, and it has now dropped very far below that. So if it does make a return to the to its preferred range, we're going to have about 300 to 400 pips to capture there. So I'm keeping a close eye on it for that Kiwi recovery, but I seriously doubt it's going to happen this week. Just got to be ready for when it does. Aussie Canadian, and as with the other Canadian pair, we looked at the dollar CAD. With the Aussie CAD, we see the same leaps and bounds, not as many as with the dollar, but still it goes from the bottom to the top and from the top to the bottom. This seems to be the level of support here at the very bottom of the chart. It's already bounced from that level and is starting to make its way up. The Canadian had a pretty good run into Canadian strength against a lot of the pairs based on oil prices going up. As the oil situation starts calming down, this one should return either to the midpoint of the chart or even higher. So these are the swing trades that we're looking at that can add hundreds of pips at a time to our trading account. And we have to jump into quite a few of them before we latch on to one of the really strong movers. Not sure that this is going to be one yet, but it's certainly all the Canadian pairs are on my radar for the for that eventual move back to either the middle or the top of the chart. Euro Swiss, and in general, the Swiss has been weakening, which is what we see coming all the way from the bottom going towards the top. It has not visited the bottom of the chart in more than a year. Actually, sorry, in about 8 months. 8 months is back when it was at the bottom. So it's going on 2/3 of a year that it hasn't visited the bottom. It has been hanging out on the top third of that chart. We've seen that Swiss recovery, same as we saw with the dollar in the last week. We see it happening even faster with the euro because the euro is also weakening. So that gave this one a little bit of better push. And this was one of the trades where we picked up a nice number of pips last week, if I'm not mistaken, as well as probably the week before, even trading it in the opposite direction. So a good pair. We'll keep an eye on this one for any opportunities this week. Grand scheme of things, I would expect this to start piercing the one trend line I have here that's valid right now. If it pierces that trend line, I'm going to be perfectly happy to trade it all the way to the bottom for close to 800 pips at that point, very happily. So this may be one of the bigger trades in the next month or so. Keep an eye on this one. Euro pound, and right now I am short the euro pound. I kept that trade open from last week. So I am expecting the euro pound to make another trip towards the bottom of this chart. Maybe not all the way, but at least to give us a couple of pips. That trade is currently negative by about 30 pips, I think, last time I checked on it. It is definitely bearish on the daily, having broken through this trend line, and good chances for us to pick up a decent number of pips on it. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, but this is one of the likelier odds for the week that is starting. We can see that in general, the trend is downward, but with a lot of sideways activity starting around the August timeframe last year. And it is basically at the same point of its low back in September. It's pretty much at that same level right now. So another one that we'll keep an eye on. Of course, we have that open trade. We'll be managing that one. But other than that, I would expect to trade this one down even further. Just have to get in at the right time for us to do that. Euro JPY, and I'm sorry, I've got the wrong chart here on the Euro JPY, so I'm just going to skip this one. For some reason, it repeated the chart from the euro pound. My apologies for that one. So I'm not even going to try there. I'll skip the Euro JPY this time around. I do know that the JPY has been weakening at the same time as the euro, but I will probably add this to my email update. I'll give you my views on the Euro JPY. Euro Canadian, as mentioned, the Canadian has been strengthening against a lot of the different currencies, especially the euro, that has been weakening at the same time, based on the higher oil prices that we've seen in the last few weeks. This is another example of that. So the CAD getting stronger. It may even reach to the very bottom of the chart. So I'm keeping a close eye on all the euro pairs and the CAD pairs, and especially this one, which is a cross of a currency that is gaining strength with another one that is weakening at the same time. If it does continue to head towards the bottom, we're going to have about 500 pips of opportunity, but I want to see how the week starts before I jump into this one. So enough said about that. Pound JPY, a very sideways pair. So we can see that it is embedded within a sideways channel and has been bouncing from top to bottom, pretty consistently. Right now, it's somewhere near the middle and heading up towards the top of the channel. Another one that I will probably look to trade up if it gives me the right entry signal, but I'll wait for that to actually happen on the charts. There's no use trying to predict these things. It's better to wait for them to actually start happening and then jump on them when they're actually moving in your favor. Aussie JPY, and much like the other Aussie pairs, the Australian is in a tailspin. It's very close to the bottom of the chart. But on a positive note, it did bottom out back in March and has since started making the higher highs, higher lows. It might be starting to look at a move back towards the top of the chart. We'll see. Again, I'm not jumping into this one early. I'll wait for it to define itself before I make a decision. Euro New Zealand. This one does offer good opportunities intra-week, but on the daily, there's really nothing to be seen. It's a very sideways pair, not giving a whole lot of direction. However, these bounces that don't look like much on the daily these upside down V's and regular V's, they give huge opportunities on the hourly charts of about 100 to 150 pips at a time. So not too shabby. We'll look for good entries on the hourly chart, and on the daily chart, as I said, nothing much to see, just pure sideways action since around November, October of last year. Pound Canadian. Again, a Canadian pair. Canadian has been gaining in strength. You see this heading towards the bottom. However, the pound is another pair that I think has strength in it. This one may start trending sideways or even start going up again before too long. It's not one of my favorite pairs to trade down because I simply don't believe that it has enough momentum to get to the bottom of the chart. But we'll see what the entry signals tell us. If they do tell me to enter in that direction, I will. And we're getting to very close to the, actually, that was the end. That is the last pair. So I owe you guys the Euro JPY. My bad on that deck. I'll send an update via email on that one specific pair. So it's not one that I tend to trade a lot, but still, got to be consistent and do things the right way. So here are the setups that I see for the main currency pairs and what I'm going to be focusing on for the week to come. The USD pairs, of course, the dollar has been extremely strong for the last 4 or so weeks. We're going to continue trading on dollar strength, but we're going to be very careful as we do that. We need to be ready for a reversal to happen virtually at any point in time. It's getting to where the dollar is just too strong. The euro is still in retreat, and I have no idea how low it can go, but I will continue to trade it into weakness for as long as it continues to do that. With the pound, I'm not that optimistic. I think the pound is getting ready for a little bit of a retracement, so I'm going to be trading it very carefully. I'm not going to be shorting the pound too heavily. Rather, I'm going to start positioning myself for that retrace into pound strength that is going to be coming eventually. Like I said, I'll jump into the trades very cautiously and try to manage them. If I see entries going against the pound, I'll certainly take them, but I'm going to be very, very cautious if I do that. The Swiss pairs, the Swiss is another one that is already showing strength after a very brutal period where it just collapsed. So we're going to see if that strength lasts and gives us good opportunities to trade it back towards the bottom of some of those charts because the pip opportunities are huge. So if you're going to be looking at opportunities in the market, I would suggest you keep a close eye on the Swiss pairs, especially the Euro Swiss. And second would be the USD Swiss, but Euro Swiss would be my preferred pair for a trade back into Swiss strength. And the JPY, I love trading the JPY, but it's doing very weird things these past couple of weeks. The yen has been getting weaker even as the euro gets weaker, and that's not normal because the yen is a safe haven for the Europeans. If the euro is having a bad time, usually the yen is getting stronger because the money starts pouring from Europe into Japan as a hedge, as a safe haven. We have not seen that happening this time around, which is very odd. That cannot last. One of them, either the euro or the yen, is going to go into strength at some point because they're both overextended in exactly the wrong direction. And when a correction happens on either one of them, euro or JPY, it's probably going to be a massive correction. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on that as we go forward into this week, the next, and however long it takes for that to start happening. I do not think it's going to be long. It's imminent. And that is pretty much the end of my usual presentation. I like to add a little bit of parting words here. So I'm going to focus on safety. I ran the numbers for the different accounts that we're managing at Special Effects Academy. I ran them on Friday, and I was both pleased and surprised. We're averaging a little under 10% growth on this account in the trading room per month. Our long-term positions are a little bit better than that. We're nicely adding, and those one take absolutely less time. They're a set and forget. I enter trades and keep them open for months at a time. So between those two accounts, it's been a really nice year so far. And our fiscal started in April, so we're still finishing our second month. The worst week that we've had this fiscal year on any of the accounts has been kept under a 2% loss in a week. And the best week on this trading room account has exceeded 10% profit, though that's not too shabby. And it highlights what we try to do: keep the account safe, keep the losses low, let the winners grow. That's what we've tried to do, and looks like we're accomplishing it nicely. And last but not least, we did launch our copy trader last week. It's been tested, it's working, it's ready for market. We've actually started selling it. And this is for people that really don't have the time to trade or join the trading room, because you're going to get a lot of the same trades that we're posting on either this service, the trading room, or the signals, where we focus on a little bit more of those long-term trades that can be set up at any point in time. If you're already getting those and you're happy joining us and trading with us, then that's good. You're not going to be missing much. But if you've got something else going on, you can't join all the sessions, or you don't want to miss a trade that I place at 3 in the morning or whenever that happens, then what the copy trader does is that you hook it up to our account. We don't need to know your account passwords. We don't need to know how much money you have. Your money is yours. It's in your account. You control the account. But you add a piece of software to your MetaTrader, and what it does is receive every single trade that we place on our account. It mimics it on yours. So even if you're asleep or don't even turn on your console for weeks at a time, you'll still be copying every trade that we place. So just for those people that would be interested in that, if you want it, it is now available. And we do understand that when I tell you guys that I make 10% in a month, and you say, hey, Andy, but we only made 3%, or maybe I lost 1%. How's that possible? Well, you probably didn't take every trade I did, and you didn't exit at the same time I did. So you're never going to get the exact same results unless you're copy trading. In that case, so long as the two accounts are in sync, you're going to get the exact same results I do, almost pip for pip. A little bit of slippage here and there, but it's going to be basically the same thing. So that is going to be it for me today. I will, as usual, open up the session for Q&A. If anybody has any questions or comments, by all means, let me know what they are. Okay, then that being the case, I will send a recording of this out later, and I'll make sure the email includes my views on the Euro JPY. Again, apologies, that was my mistake. I just put the wrong chart into that deck. So you'll be getting that probably within the hour, and I will see you guys at noon tomorrow when we start our regular noon session for this Forex trading room. Thanks again for joining us, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great evening.